A lot of people will tell you that the new Psychedelic Circus eyeshadow palette by Jeffree Star Cosmetics is way too similar to their own Jawbreaker palette launched back in 2019, and that if you own the Jawbreaker palette like I do, there is no point in getting the Psychedelic Circus, but I wouldn't be so quick. I've done a whole research, went shade by shade of the Psychedelic Circus palette, compared it all to the Jawbreaker, and if you want to know the results, just keep watching, and if you want to see how this all compares to what we have in real life, that's why I have the Jawbreaker in my hands, and I will show you how it really looks. Now, of course, you are still seeing it on your screen, but I promise to be as accurately describing it as possible to let you know all the nuances. Now, both palettes are, of course, colorful. They're kind of rainbow palettes, so probably people who don't really like color in their makeup, but I don't think there will be a lot of these people on this channel, will say that these palettes are way too similar because they're both colorful rainbow palettes. But we know that colorful rainbow palettes can be so different. They can be mattes, they can be shimmers, they can be lighter, darker, they can be different shades of the same hue, and there's like so much more that turned back. So let's dive into the Psychedelic Circus collection by Jeffree Star Cosmetics, in particular the Psychedelic Circus palette. And let's take a look at their website first, where I feel like they have the most accurate representation of the colors. So take a look at the Jawbreaker here that I have in my hands, and you're seeing the picture from the website, and as compared to what Jeffree Star had in his video, where the colors are kind of washed out a little bit. So for example, you can definitely see, looking at this blue, it's a royal blue, it's a cornflower blue, it's very vivid, and it's definitely not pastel, it's not light. And in Jeffree's video, it's kind of pastel because of the amount of light he has. However, we are comparing the two palettes in the same lighting. They kind of have the same lighting on the website, and he also seems to have more or less the same lighting in his videos, so I won't be comparing a screenshot from a video to the website and vice versa. Let's now unpack the shades. I have them side by side here on my screen as well. The first shade is in the forest. It's a shimmery green. There is nothing to really unpack here because there is no shimmery green in the Jawbreaker palette. End of story. The next shade is a matte purple. It is called Transcendence, and that's where I feel most people come in and say, okay, there is a matte purple in the Jawbreaker too. But guys, look at them in the same lighting, see how they compare to each other. So what you see on your screen, you know, might not be absolutely accurate to real life, depending on your screen settings, etc. But how they compare to each other is not going to change. If one is lighter on the website, it's going to be lighter in real life too. So as you can see, the one in the Jawbreaker is really lighter. It's kind of a pastel, and I can confirm that by seeing it right here. It's a pastel purple, like lilac. And the one in the Psychedelic Circus palette seems to be, well, they describe it as indigo, which means it's kind of a cool toned, and it does look cool toned in the picture as well. And it seems to be way darker, so I don't think that it's really super dark. I think it's kind of a medium toned purple. It doesn't seem to be very deep. I feel like it's kind of similar to what I have on my eyes in the outer corner, which is the BH Cosmetics Sapphire palette, and this shade right here, which is called Sympathetic. So I think that's approximately what you will be getting. Maybe this Sympathetic is a little bluer and you will be getting something a little purpler. So see how they compare side by side here. And sort of like that they compare to the pictures. So we're going to say that there is no dupe for that. Oh, and I almost forgot about my research plan. So I here have two columns. Here we will write the shades that do have a dupe, and here we will write the shades that maybe, you know, kind of have something similar and you can dupe it. If that's not the main shade you're going for in the palette, if that's not the main thing you like, then you can maybe do without it and do with something similar in the Jawbreaker palette. So the next shade we have is the Mindbender, and this is a coral shade. You might say, oh, okay, that's what they have in the Jawbreaker palette, which is slightly lighter perhaps, but it's still there. It is called Snack. It is right here. This is a coral shimmery shade. This is a metallic shade. However, what they have in the Psychedelic Circus has a green shift to it. So in Jeffree's video, you can clearly see that there is green shimmer and you get this green sheen, which is definitely something that you do not get with the Snack shade. So let me just show it to you. There is no green sheen here whatsoever. So for the Mindbender, I guess I can write it in the approximate column, and I will write the shade number as we go, number 3. Oh, by the way, the Psychedelic Circus palette has 21 shades, the Jawbreaker palette has 24, and what is interesting is that the Psychedelic Circus costs $60, while the Jawbreaker costs $58, huh? Next up we have Clownery. This is described as an orchid color on their website, and no, I don't think it has a dupe in the Jawbreaker palette. So most people, I think, will say that the dupe is this color right here, which is a cool pink called Bubblegum. But Bubblegum, first of all, it's way lighter. And second, it's like a really pink color. It's a Barbie pink color. And what is in the Psychedelic Circus, I feel, is slightly purple leaning, so it's more of a magenta color. It's not exactly a pink. Then we have the Joshua Tree, which is a warm toned green, and I feel like the closest to it in the Jawbreaker would of course be Sour, which is basically the only true green here. And it is also matte, however, I feel like it's way more cool tone. So the Joshua Tree is like kind of a yellow green. This is more of a pure green, and also this one is slightly muted. The Joshua Tree is muted too. I feel like they are quite different. However, if maybe green eyeshadows is not something you use, you could kind of find them similar. So let me write the shade number 5 in our approximate column. I hope you can see that. So I'm writing the shades here. That like you can kind of pull it off. Also, you can mix Sour with the yellow shade in the palette with the Wow, and you can get kind of a more yellowish green, so I feel like that can be done. Then we have Tears of Joy, which is a silver eyeshadow with sparkle, and I feel like it also has some kind of shift. There is nothing similar to it in the Jawbreaker palette. There is the Jawbreaker shade, but it's white and it has a very warm sheen, so it's definitely not that. Then we have the Nature Escape, which is kind of a brownish, orangish, like pumpkin color, I would say. I think it's more of a brown than an orange. But maybe you could pull it off as an orange, but definitely there is no pumpkin brownish orangish color like that in the Jawbreaker, so no. And then we have the Candy Flip, which is a baby pink, like a very light pink. And you know what? I will tell you, I feel like there is no dupe for it in the Jawbreaker. However, if you mix these two shades, let me see, Good Morning and Bubblegum, so basically you apply Bubblegum and then top it with Good Morning, which is kind of a pinkish nude, you will approximately get that Candy Flip shade. And like it's not too hard to mix two shades, like it's not like you have to mix 5 of them. So let's say that the Candy Flip really does have a dupe, like it can be duped by the Jawbreaker palette. It doesn't have a particular shade, but 2 shades really will dupe it, and Candy Flip is number 8, so I wrote it in that column. Now we have the Energy Transfer is an emerald matte green, and there is nothing like that in the Jawbreaker, not even close. Then we have the Problem Child, which is a bright orange, and that I feel like that one really has a dupe. And this is obviously the matte orange right here, which is called Suck. And in the picture, you know, on the website, they're really similar, so you can maybe spot a slight difference, but definitely not a lot. And so this was the shade number 10. I'm writing it down. And then we have the blue shade, which I feel like is going to be very controversial here, because a lot of people will say that it's exactly the soaked shade from the Jawbreaker palette. The blue shade, by the way, is called Lava Lamp, but I don't agree. I think they're a little bit similar, yes, but if you look at the 2 pictures, the Lava Lamp is lighter. It's kind of a washed out soaked. And soaked, well, basically it's exactly what it is in that picture. So it's a royal cornflower blue. It's very vivid. It's like the bluest of blues, but it's definitely not light. It's not washed out. I wouldn't call them dupes. I have the soaked, and I would love to have Lava Lamp. I would love to have the whole Psychedelic Circus palette, and moreover, I'm so happy that they finally in the Psychedelic Circus collection launched the fun-colored lipsticks. You know, Jeffree Star Cosmetics is known for that, but they haven't launched them since forever. I think the last one was some green Christmas Slippy, and the one before was a lime green in the Jawbreaker collection, and no more than that. They were conventional colors, and the blurple lipstick screams my name. So does the green and the blue lipstick, and oh my god, I'm really loving this palette so far. We will continue with the dupes now to see if I can dupe some more with the Jawbreaker palette, but I am really dying to buy this collection. I don't think I will do it on the launch date because it's kind of way out of my budget, but I want to see what deals they will have on Black Friday. So let's write it in the approximate column, I would say, because I feel like you won't get the exact same shade if you apply Brain Freeze over Soaked. and this is number 11. The next shade is called Perception, and it is a metallic brown. There is no metallic brown in the Jawbreaker palette. The next shade is a matte bright pink. It is called Bearded Lady. I'm not sure if it is that bright, because apparently he said that one of the lipsticks Bearded Lady was matching the shade, but maybe he didn't mean like the exact match. He meant that they just were going well together. And the Bearded Lady lipsticks seems to be a more muted color. However, this one seems to be a very bright pink, but in any case, no. Once again, the most similar shade in the Jawbreaker would be Bubblegum, but it's way lighter. It doesn't have this, like hot fuchsia shade that the Bearded Lady has. Then we have a metallic red shade, which is called Ringmaster, and we also do have a metallic shade in the metallic red shade in the Jawbreaker palette. This one is called And What. However, if you take a look at the pictures, And What seems to be much more saturated than the Ringmaster. So the Ringmaster is kind of a rusty red, is more muted, and maybe has this slightly orangish subtone? No, undertone. That's what I wanted to say. Oh my god. I talk weirdly sometimes, don't I? But if you didn't know, by the way, English isn't my first language. However, I sometimes feel like it almost is. Anyway, the shade And What in the Jawbreaker palette is kind of a little bit of a pink leaning red. It is darker, it is more saturated, so I would say they're not dupes. I wouldn't even write this in the approximate column, they're just not. Then we have the teal shade, which I think is matte with sparkle, which is called Carnival Tattoo. And there is no shade like that in the Jawbreaker. There are no teals in the Jawbreaker, so there is this turquoise shade, which is called Cute, but like it's way lighter, and you can say it is maybe even more similar to the Energy Transfer shade, because it's the same hue, but it's still lighter. So Carnival Tattoo doesn't have a dupe. Then comes the Altered State. This is a matte yellow, and people will be like, oh, there is a matte yellow in the Jawbreaker palette. This is this one. It is called Wow. I, by the way, also have it on my eyes right now in the inner corner. But really, is this a dupe? Are you sure? Because the Wow shade, the bright yellow, is like a bright canary yellow. It's almost a lemon yellow. Like, it's very bright and it's very true yellow, and if it is leaning to one of the sides, it is more leaning like to cool tones, to greens, than to warm tones. And the Altered State one is definitely a very warm yellow. So it's also bright, but first of all, I think it's slightly more muted, but that's even not the whole point. The whole point is that it's like a very different shade of yellow. So absolutely not. Then we have the Dive Deep, which is a dark blue, and people say, okay, there's a dark blue in the Jawbreaker palette. You're right, there is a dark blue in the Jawbreaker palette. However, this dark blue is kind of a, like, I wouldn't even say that it's purple leaning, but it's like it's more of a warm toned blue, if you can say that about the blue. So it's like it's very slightly going into purple. And the one in the Psychedelic Circus is a true blue, even like slightly leaning to teal blue, and also it is lighter. So this shade right here, I did a smoky eye with this palette, and this shade is very dark. It almost looks like black, I'm telling you, and it definitely does not have any, teal hue in it, unlike the Dive Deep. Dive Deep. Next comes the Sideshow Blush, and that one, I don't know. I feel like it does have a dupe, and not exactly. Okay, so this shade right here, which I cannot say the name of. Well, let's just say it's an F word. I don't know why Jeffree gives these names to shade. Like, that's beyond me. So that is also a matte coral, like the Sideshow Blush, and they are actually quite similar in the picture. I feel like this one is a little bit lighter, but really not that much. So let me just write the shade number in the dupes column. This is the number 18, and it does have a dupe. Next comes the Mustard Yellow, which is called Microdose, and no, it does not have a dupe in the Jawbreaker palette. So once again, the closest would be the Wow Yellow, which is like way too far from that. Then comes the Tripping Balls, which is a metallic purple, and also, somebody will say that the Bite Me shade right here, which is a metallic purple, is a dupe to that, but absolutely not. Like, it's so different. So first of all, the Tripping Balls is like way lighter, and you can definitely see it in the pictures. And once again, the pictures might be slightly different from real life, but their relationship will stay. So if one is lighter than the other, it will be the same in real life. And what is also important, that the Tripping Balls has this blue shimmer. It has the blue shift to it, which Bite Me does not. Bite Me does have shimmer, sparkle, but it's purple and maybe even slightly pinkish, so it's definitely not blue. There is absolutely no blush into it. It's more of a warm toned purple as a result, Bite Me, when you apply it. And I think that Tripping Balls is going to look more like a cool toned purple and definitely way lighter. And then the last one is the Sacred Knowledge, which is a brown. There is a brown in the Jawbreaker palette, and they do look actually a bit more similar in the pictures than I had thought. So it is this one called Tasty. I feel like this brown is slightly more orangish, and that brown in the Psychedelic Circus is slightly more greenish. And also the one in the Psychedelic Circus is slightly darker. However, I will admit that they are similar, especially to me, you know, who loves bright colors. Browns tend to look more similar, as probably colorful shades do to someone who loves neutral makeup and will say, oh, like, oh my god, Julia, these brows are totally different. But I would actually rate them in the dupes column. I think it is a dupe. So this is the shade number 21. Are you ready to see the results in our columns? By the way, if you think I did a good job on researching and digging all that thing out, there is now a way of tipping me. I actually have a link in the description box, like you would do to a server in a restaurant or to a hairstylist. And like these people, tipping is my only wage on YouTube, or like at least my main one, because I'm not monetized. And so that's how I survive. Anyway, obviously this is not a must. If you do not want or cannot tip, that's totally fine. It's completely up to you. So here are our columns. This is the name of the column, and there are just 4 shades from the Psychedelic Circus that you can completely dupe by the Jawbreaker palette. Only 4 out of 21. And there are 3 more shades here that you can kind of approximately dupe. So I would say if these are not the shades that you wanted to buy the palette for, if these are not the most important shades to you, you can actually create something similar with the Jawbreaker that makes a total of 7 shades. So that's just 1/3 of the Psychedelic Circus Jeffree Star Cosmetics palette that you can actually dupe by the Jawbreaker palette. That's not a lot. That's definitely not a lot. The ones that have dupes are Candy Flip, Problem Child, Sideshow Blush, and Sacred Knowledge. And the one that you can kind of dupe are the Mindbender, the Lava Lamp, and the Joshua Tree. By the way, if you love talking about makeup and learning about new colorful products, there is this reviews playlist where I review everything that gets into my greedy hands, and we can discuss it all and chat about it. And I'll see you there. Bye!